And did you get a little?
Yes, a confirmation.
Okay. So hi, and I'm Daniel, and with me today I have Aline from PyCom.io, and I'm super happy that she wanted to join us. So Aline, what do you do? What is your background?
Yes, I'm currently working for PyCon 1 year and a half in this company. Here, I'm full stack developer. We do a bit of everything, mostly working with integrations between hardware and our software platform, that is PyBytes, the platform that puts everything together in the cloud. I'm computer engineering. I'm from Brazil. Back in Brazil, I had some experience experience working from a very big company, an aircraft manufacturer called Embraer. And then I moved here in the Netherlands, and I'm rediscovering my career, rebuilding my career, and having pretty nice challenges here that we can
Nice.
talk.
So what is PyCom? What am I holding, and what does PyCom do? What is their mission?
Yeah, this is a computer. You are holding a computer. Uh, it's not as powerful as something with a very true processor, but we have a microprocessor that you can write stuff in Python in a very easy way, and you can automatize a lot of stuff using that. You can do a lot of kind of IoT projects. It's just up to your creativity and your imagination.
So you said IoT. So these
Yes.
students have not really looked in, perhaps not looked in so far. So what is IoT to, and what does IoT mean for PyCom?
IoT is everything. It's things. It's the Internet of Things. So you can plug this device, this PyCon device, in something in your house and take data from it through a sensor. You can put this device, a smaller device, we are going to have PyGo soon, in your clothes, for example, and have movements data. You can have all kind of data collected by this kind of devices, and you can do whatever you want. You can do some controlling system that is going to read this data, is going to make a decision, and is going to control something else. All kinds of monitoring system and alerts. You can put a lot of smart stuff inside the device like that that can bring to you a lot of useful stuff. And you can do it quick. It's not like in the past when you would spend like a long time building electronics and using some other components that is much more harder to integrate. Now we can find everything integrated in a device like that. Of course, not only PyCon, we have a bunch of other brands doing these IoT devices, and it's just up to the choice of the user, what fits me best. And then I can find a device like that, I can program a device like that, and I can have a solution. I have an
Okay.
example to give about a very recent solution. In my house, I have a cat, and my cat was peeing everywhere, and I had no solution, and it was a behavior stuff. What we have done, we have a camera collecting pictures of my cat from the sofa, and we have trained a machine learning model to recognize the cat. When he is in the sofa, we can trigger something to make him get out of the sofa.
Nice.
So we turn on a hair dryer. He's very afraid of hair dryer. And with this solution, thanks to the Lord, now my sofa is safe, and I can train my cat. Now he is not jumping the sink anymore. He's not peeing the sofa. It brings a lot of life quality, let's say, for my house. This is
Nice.
just an example about what IoT can do for you as user and can do for world when you are working on a group, when you are working for a bigger solution.
Nice. So what kind of programming do you do on this one? Because I've been programming a lot of electronics before, and I was like using C++ or Arduino's version of it. So what makes this so simple to program?
This is Python. Python is very simple. The learning curve is quick. So it's a language for everybody. You have a bunch of libraries that does everything for you, and you just need to call those libraries and do stuff. So I think the main point about this device is the language, the MicroPython language.
Nice. So okay, so this is a testing course. So let's go to testing a bit. So what kind of testing is done on PyCom, and how do you test these things?
We have some firmware tests. We have some scenarios that we have to create, for example. I'm more from the software perspective, not from the hardware, but one example that I can give you. Last week, we had to run an artificial ice test. Like we had to put a device called Pygate, that is our LoRa gateway, in the fridge to communicate through Wi-Fi and through another device, the PySense, that is the sensor shield, and it should keep working in a very low temperature. So sometimes we have to create those scenarios, like we use the fridge and we freeze everything for a while, and we have to monitor through the time to see if it keep working in a very low temperature and for how long, and if it breaks, what kind of in the integration of the devices, what is failing, and we have stuff like that. This is
Nice.
a very simple example about how we test it.
So I guess these compared to software testing that we talked a lot about in this course, so such hardware testing is quite sort of expensive, and you need to invest time. Like you need to like put things into the freezer and wait for a while and stuff like that. Would you say that these kind of tests are more complicated to do, or takes more time or more effort than software testing?
Yes, you are talking about some real world situations, some hardware. So it's not just you writing some lines. Sometimes you have to take care of other situations that goes around, and you have to define very well your scenario. So you can test these things, these hardwares. I think, yes, it's a bit more expensive than just a software test.
Nice. So would you mind telling us on your testing? So what the daily testing that you do, or the weekly testing, or how you test when you're in your work?
Yes, I'm working for the PyBytes project. That is our cloud platform to integrate the device. I can illustrate with some slides that I have done. Let's say if I can share
thank you.
with you. Just a moment. Can you see my screen?
Yes, now I see your screen.
Yeah. I will just give a very simple example about what is our job here as full stack developers testing, and how is our environment right now. Actually, PyBytes is built in a microservice architecture. So we have a couple detached services that communicate with each other through APIs. Mainly here, I have two scenarios. I have the front end, that is the PyBytes, as you can see in pybytes.pycon.io. And we have, for example, the other microservices, that is the API. And here we have different kind of tests, like We have some unit tests that we need to run. We have some integration tests. And in the front end, we have the end-to-end test, where we simulate the browser and the user, how we can program like user actions. Click the button, fulfill this field, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead. And we can see if between these steps, we have some error happening or if it's working fine.
Nice. So what kind of frameworks are used?
Yeah. Good question. Currently, we started using Jest. PyBytes, it's 5 years old already, and in the beginning of the history, we start using Jest. Now we are using Mocha for some technical decisions. We are writing now the tests using Mocha and the Chai as the assert library to test the end result. We are using this chimp, that is our browser client simulator that does this magic to open the browser and start clicking stuff for us. And I need to mention the Circle CI that integrates this test for us in order to avoid some stuff like what people call by merge hell. We have a couple of developers working in the same project, so we are constantly merging stuff, and we need to be sure that when I merge something, I'm not breaking somewhere else features and stuff like that.
So how does that pipeline work, so to speak? When you're merging things, and what happens and where, so to speak?
Yeah, we merge things, we install everything, we configure everything, we import some service that we need during this test, because this is an isolated container, right? So, for example, if we are testing our front-end part, in this pipeline, we need to call the other microservices as well, because in one point, the front-end is going to call all of those microservices. And then we start the unit tests, the integration tests, that right now we are having an approach like full stack tests. And the final step is this end-to-end test. And then we see if everything is working or if we need to take a look in something that stopped to work.
Nice. So you have this is the continuous integration pipeline, right?
Yes.
So do you also have like continuous deployment? So
we don't have the continuous deployment right now. Before we deploy, we need some business decisions. So we need some validation, some personal validations, then we do the deployment. So right now, at this point, we don't have the continuous deployment.
So, and with personal validation, you mean that you're manually testing stuff, or what does that mean?
No, after we run the Circle CI, we have a pretty good idea if the software itself it's working from our development perspective. But we need, for example, that our product owner agrees with the solution.
Okay.
So at some point, we need some people looking at the system and doing some tests, some user tests, some experimental tests to check if it's good or if it's not good.
Nice. Nice. So you're pretty much setting up for them to do their work, right?
Exactly.
Okay, nice. So I've seen a couple of students using Chai, Mocha, and Jest. So those are, in my perspective, since I only not used them myself, JavaScript framework, right?
Yeah, basically here at PyCon, at PyBytes team, we use JavaScript for everything. All frameworks, we use JavaScript. Our backend is Node.js, so more JavaScript. This makes life easier because when something new appears, show up, it will be JavaScript. So we can learn it faster and we can integrate to our solution faster.
Nice. Nice. So, but the code that you wrote right here in JavaScript is not run on these, right? It's
no, this is the cloud platform.
Yeah, nice. Okay. So how long does running these tests take? And
right now it's taking very long, and depending on the microservice, for example, the front-end microservice is the one that we test most, and we have the end-to-end test that is very time-consuming because it's just like a user clicking on stuff. So one pipeline can take up to half an hour to run, to completely run.
Yeah. And to all the students, please notice that she says that half an hour is a very long time.
Yeah, for us, yes, it is. But I know some other cases in the industry that is going to take hours, maybe half a day. In our case, half an hour is very precious, but we have other scenarios where we can have tests running for a day and we have just to wait.
Yeah, and I mean, half an hour can be long if you're waiting for the results and you want to continue,
exactly.
and you want to have fast turnaround time if you're doing something wrong. Right? So what would you say be the actions that you do? So you're like, okay, we want to change something in our system. We have some. How do you know what to change to start with?
I didn't get your question.
So I'm looking for the actual commands that you're doing, more or less, the change of the code that you do, and the sort of your personal part of this pipeline. Because I guess the pipeline that we're talking about here, when you merge something, might be in the end of things. And that you start in the other end, you have some kind of requirement that is changing, or some kind of bug that you're gonna address, right?
Oh yes, if we have it very well defined, like if it's a let me think an example. When we click in the button to start something, we need to disable this button until we have a response. This is a case well defined. So sometimes I have a feature to develop and we have statements like that, well defined. If I already have this well-defined statement, I can do my feature. I can create this button and I can create a test for this requirement. So the tests can burn with these requirements. And once I commit my code with the button, for example, and the test, I will have it tested in the Circle CI automatically.
But do you do any testing yourself before you commit? So do you?
Yes, we run locally.
So you run the entire environment locally and you test manually in that environment. Do you also run the unit tests locally?
Yes, we can do all the tests locally. Like when the developer, when me decides, okay, now it's working locally, it's fine. Then we start to check the Circle CI.
So how long does if you run the unit test locally, how long does that take?
It's not different from the Circle CI. It's almost the same time, I guess.
So do you run the entire test suites for half an hour, even locally?
Sometimes I need to, like when we are delivering, I need to run everything. But most of the time, I can select the piece of code that I'll be testing. So in this case, I can put some flags in the tests, and when I run, I see only those tests running, and I can control only those tests.
Nice. Okay, and then, okay, now I'm ready. Then you do the commit and you merge things, and then stuff is going to happen in Circle CI. Okay.
Yes.
Nice. Okay. So, but you're putting your code in the end on GitHub, right? So you're releasing to me and to other people also, right? Or
you see the code through the PyBytes platform. So right now, the GitHub projects, I think they are not open.
Okay. Sure. So I think this is pretty much my question. So would you like to tell, if you had something that you would like to tell my students, some kind of advice or some test experience or some life experience, what would that be? What is something that you think is really important for my students to know?
About tests, what I can tell you is when I started to work with development, I didn't see people giving importance to test. The mindset was, it's working, I will keep like this. I will not do anything with that. But business changes and technology change and people change. And we can lose a lot of information when we have those changes. Putting tests in the solution, it's a way to keep the integrity and be in a very safe side in matter of business, because if somebody in your company change, if technologies change, you are not going to lose. Your code can keep running, and it's important because just like that, you protect your solution from things that is not under your control. So now test, it's very important. It's part of all business, all serious development business include test, and includes like you giving a lot of time, investing a lot of time on testing. And it's important, and if I can give an advice, is test your code. You are not going to regret, and it gives you a lot of quality. I think that's it.
Nice. So thank you very much, Aline, and thank PyCom for sharing you with us. And I'm so happy that we did this interview. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.